Angus, welcome to the Dice Lost Monday podcast.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having
Absolute,
me.
absolute pleasure to have you. We've been waiting for this one for a while,
We've been talking about this for months.
months, and I'm excited because I think you and I are quite the same type of person. You know, we go after the same things, and you are a host of the Mindset podcast.
I am indeed. Yeah. So a couple podcast hosts here. Hopefully I'm not going to slur my words or say anything wrong.
Well, I like that because I think we're in the same place in life, and I think that we're after the same things. So I'm really excited to just have a conversation with you. A lot of the time, you and I we speak to guests and we try and get a message out of them, or we try and speak about their journey. But I think you and I just sort of having a chat is.
Yeah, I think
I'm
I'm
excited.
looking forward to a relaxed chat.
Yeah,
And like you said, we'll probably still get to find out a lot more about each other, but it won't be so like, I've got to make sure I tick the boxes
yeah.
through the conversation kind of thing.
You have to do that a lot with the guests, eh?
It's tough because you've
Mm.
also, and this is a little insight for your listeners, it's not as easy as it sounds. Like
Hard.
when the conversation goes on and you think, wow, I learned so much about that. We've had to read up the night before.
Mm.
We have to pretend that we're going to introduce it into the conversation in that way, but you can't script it because then it's not a good podcast. It doesn't sound so great.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's tough.
it is tough. But I see you've transitioned your podcast a little bit because now you've got a host.
Yes. So Charles is my co-host,
Yes.
also known as Chucks. He was actually a guest beforehand.
Yes.
So um, the podcast originally was every single episode was a guest episode. People of all different athletic backgrounds, kind of sharing their story, things that they'd been through, that kind of thing. And I do still aim to have a bit of that in there with some guests coming back and still talking through like the way they train, again, their story. But I definitely started to lose a bit of touch with it. Some of the episodes began to be a little bit similar, and I'm at the point where I'm not like Stephen Bartlett, where I'm making millions off a podcast. So it was very much my motivation had to be, I want to enjoy what I'm doing.
Mm.
And what I did enjoy, in particular from the episode with Chucks, is we had a good back and forth, but then he's also over the time become a much closer friend of mine. And I like the way he thinks in terms of coaching. I'm fascinated by training for all different sports and coaching and how athletes think for it. So we started to go into the topics of that. And then it allowed me to do a lot more of the listener involvement, which was already starting to come from those other episodes. But we have quite a lot of fun on the episodes now, with the aim of then bringing back in either listener input or getting some guests on to join in with the fun, but also give their insight.
Well, this is so interesting, and this is why I'm so excited to talk to you because I'm right at that point that you might have been at when you were talking to your guests. I'm right there. So I've taken a break. I think this is my first podcast in like 6 weeks,
Oh, mad.
which is crazy.
Welcome back.
Yeah, it's good to be back. Like I'm excited, but there's something missing,
Yeah.
and I can't put my finger on it. I love it. We're coming up to 100 episodes now, and it's all exciting. We have
Congratulations
our
on that.
brand deal. Shout out Prime Cell. So what's not to love about the situation that we're in. But I'm finding with the podcasts and the episodes, and like you said, it's difficult when you bring in a guest and then the guest lets you down and all these like hurdles we've got to jump through. So much time and effort's being put in. And one of the things I was saying earlier is I don't know what I want the result to be. So I'm struggling to put in all this effort and time towards an empty picture.
Yeah. I have an interesting opinion on this because another former guest of mine told me something the very first time I ever met him. So I moved to London coming on for 2 years now. I grew up down south, but I went up to the Midlands, did my degree and worked up there for a
Right.
while. But
I
I
was
came
gonna
back
ask
down
you.
to London, came back down to London and didn't really know anyone. So decided to go to a run club. And there was only one other bloke at this run club. So me and him spoke for a while, and I was telling him about the podcast, what I wanted to do with it. He's giving me some great insights, and I had no idea at the time who he was. Turned out at the end of the run, he had a relatively decent following, sort of 60K. And I was like, oh, okay. So this guy wasn't just giving me
Empty
nonchalant
advice. Yeah,
advice. It was, he knew what he was talking about. And the one thing he said was, um, if you post something content wise, and just generally in life, but if you post something content wise that you like, then at the time of posting it, at least one person likes it. And they're probably the most important person because that's the person that's going to motivate you to do the next one. If you try and copy the format of a different podcast that does really well and you don't particularly enjoy the creation that you've got, but you have done a good job in copying that format, when you post it, you don't know if anyone likes it. And so you're already down one on if you just made something you liked.
right.
And what you end up finding, and what I am finding by slightly changing the podcast, is sometimes the engagement is less initially
Yeah.
than the previous episodes, because especially when
You
you're a smaller
collab.
podcast, you collab,
Yeah.
and then all of their followers get involved. But the sharp drop off was dramatic.
Yeah.
Whereas what I find now is the gradual engagement is continuous. And so if I try not to look at the statistics, because I don't like to kind of think about what I'm doing for fun and in getting a lot of enjoyment out and compare the data to it. But
Yeah.
if I do look back, I see a continuous trend of streams and downloads throughout time, and it's this episode, then this episode, then this episode is listened on these days. Whereas before, you could just see spike,
Yeah.
drop,
Yeah.
spike,
That's
drop.
exactly what ours is.
And
Because it's based on the guest.
yeah, and it was a bit daunting. The first few episodes where I did this, I was having a lot more fun, but I was like, wow, retention has dropped. But then what we've now started to see is those that really want to buy into what I am enjoying doing and what we're able to bring in are starting to buy into it, and that's growing, and people are getting way more interactive with it, which is something I also really enjoyed building into our
Yeah.
podcast. But then from there, with the reintroduction of some of the topics and the style of conversation that I was having originally with the occasional guest that we're planning to have come on, we're kind of hoping to have best of both worlds.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an ever changing process. Like this, where we're at now is absolutely not going to be the final product. Like I don't know
Yeah.
what it's going to be when it's at 200 episodes down the line.
So you
know?
also don't know really what the end result is.
No.
So that's why it's quite a scary, like, not industry, but like place to be.
Yeah, I started the podcast after basically quitting on a few other ideas I had for what I could do for a career. Podcasting, by the way, as you know, is not like my job. But
I know that very well.
yeah. So what I ended up doing was I started this podcast kind of just on a whim, and it was again just me trying to get guests, and I made a promise to myself after the first episode, which I kind of want to take down because it's literally just me explaining what the podcast is going to be about.
Is it on your Instagram still?
Yeah, it's still there. It's still the first episode on Spotify. It's still me trying to explain it. I want to take it down, but I promised myself that one thing. Like, this is one thing that I'm not going to quit, because I was pissed off that I'd quit like 2 or 3 ideas just beforehand. And so now my aim is to be the least successful podcast at 1,000 episodes. Because how can a podcast get to 1,000 episodes and not be successful?
Yeah,
at that
impossible.
point? So like,
is that
let's get to 1,000 episodes and see what happens. Let's see where we're at there. Like, I'm not worried about what it is when it's there.
Yeah.
I'm worried about having a good time getting there. And I'm one of those blind believers that something good has to come along the way.
Well, I'm so with you, because that's what I think is just keep going, like podcast after podcast after podcast, and then we'll see. But it does get tough because of the amount of time and energy that goes into it.
Big time.
And you want to see these big results, and like, but also I guess it's just because you're looking at the person next to you and saying, well, why are they doing better than you? But are they actually doing better than you? And are they actually enjoying it more than you? Probably not most of the time.
100%. And like the podcast in so many ways has changed my life. And I probably haven't spoken about that enough on the actual podcast, but there's so many things that have come as a result of the podcast, whether that's networking, whether that's skills it's taught me, that where I was when I started the podcast to where I am now
100%
are literally 2 different adults.
Yeah.
Completely, in career, in interests, in friends, like everything. And it can genuinely all be tied back to that. So I have no regrets in starting it, no regrets in how it's changed, no regrets in how it's going to continue to change. But it's been actually one of the most consistent things in that time.
No, I completely agree. And I always talk about the spin-off stuff. So we got into the events, which I'm sure we'll dive into. You know, the triathlons that we've done on the back of the podcast, raising money, like all of that's so much fun. And it's really pushed us to be better. Yeah. So between me and the 3 founders, I mean, the 3 of us are doing the full Ironman in 6 weeks. And like, you say that to us when we were living together, when this podcast started, it's like, it kind of was on the mind, but like, not really. You know, we were still partying hard and not really training. We walked into that Muscle Bay half Ironman. Nowhere. Absolutely. Joel signed up 2 weeks before. So yeah, what spun off the podcast has been amazing. And like you said, the networking. And for me in London especially, I've managed to meet other Londoners, other people from this area where I came in pretty alone. Do I wish that my boys were here that I could podcast with them as well? 100%. Because I watch your podcast and I go, that looks cool. And I was saying, how nice would it be to have a studio that you can just go into whenever you want to? I would go in there every day and work on it, or make little clips, or speak on the mic. Like, I want to be immersed in it. You know, this trying to organize guests 1 hour a week. Like, it's not, you know, you're not immersing yourself.
It's tough as well, because people have lives. Like, it's tough because Again, I'm aware that some of the much larger podcasts may offer individuals a payment to come on and do it, whatever, or there might be a brand sponsorship or their agent is interested in getting them on. But at the end of the day, even if you manage to get past all those barriers to actually get to talking to the person in the first place, they might turn around 2 days before and be like, look, I'm really ill.
Yeah, it's
And
happening.
like, it happens, and all of a sudden you don't have a podcast for the next week and you go into panic mode, and it's just not very nice for you, which means that when you do actually come down to doing the episode, when you find a replacement, and they may end up being one of the best guests you've ever had, but you go into that not really looking forward to it, and probably not as well prepared as you would have been if they were your A guest that you're aiming for.
Sometimes the guest, I'm sitting mid podcast and I'm going, who have I done this podcast for? For me or for everyone else?
Exactly. And that goes back to what I was saying.
Yeah.
It's like, if when you finish the podcast, you know for a fact you don't 100% like it,
Yeah.
then when you post it, like, you don't know if anyone's going to like it.
Yeah.
So like you kind of have to stay true. And like, I always now try and make sure that anything that I do professionally, I've got to make sure that I'm happy with it. Because if someone else turns around and goes, that was your worst podcast yet, then it is what it is. If I still had a good time doing it.
But you'd be able to
then,
block
like,
that off if
it is
you
what it
knew
is.
internally that
Exactly.
you liked it.
Where if I know that I basically
threw an average thing out.
threw an average thing out and someone goes, that was terrible, I'm going to be like, yeah.
So you were quite lucky to meet Charles in that sense, because now you have it. So I'm like trying to figure out what should I do next, and that's why I was really enjoyed that you said you would come on this week, because you were the perfect person to speak to.
There you go.
So I'm just trying to figure it out, man. It's tough.
Yeah, I think one of the more fun bits that I have, and don't get me wrong, Charles might listen to this. Charles, if you're listening to this,
Charles, croissants are unbelievable. Don't listen to this guy. Pastries are the best.
Nah. I think it's so messed up. Like so many of our Grind My Gears things that we brought in, but this is it. So I even before Charles was involved, started bringing in the interactive thing. So I loved having the idea of people doing guest questions.
Yeah.
So I would try and put something out on the story literally 24 hours before, recording with someone.
Did you get lots of questions?
So it was a mixed bag. There would be certain guests which, and this is actually really interesting, I'm not going to mention any names, but some guests have a very engaged following, and they'll only have like 4,000 or 5,000 followers, but like 90% of them.
Oh yeah, no, I've seen it. Yeah.
And then you have other guests which seemingly, based on like count and view count and everything like that, will have 10,000 people that want to ask a question, and you get none. So in that sense, there have been times where myself and my girlfriend the night before have been like, cool, we're gonna have to make up some questions
here. Yeah.
And we go in, and sometimes we get one or two beforehand. And I'd always ask 3, maybe 4 if there were some good ones. But yeah, it was tough. But then when again that started to build, and I had my community that always wanted to ask questions, I always had a reliable source of questions to come from. That made things easier. And then the next thing that I started to introduce with the guest episodes was show and tell. I loved that. I don't know where the idea came from, but every guest had to bring something with them. And they had to, before they introduced themselves, they weren't allowed to say anything other than their name. They had to talk about the thing they brought with them. And it went from a guy called Charlie brought in a Brussels sprout stress ball, and he like explained the story behind that. And that was great. Loads of other people brought things like medals, stuff like that they'd won. But it kind of gave an insight as to who the individual was before we even had a chance to understand their story.
Try and figure out something quirky just to break the ice.
Yeah, and it basically just made every episode instantly fun for me, because I wasn't allowed to know what it was. Right. Like they had to bring it in, they had to hide it from me, and it was something to play with. And then, basically starting to segment it, I knew what I could look forward to. I knew where I could have fun with it. And then I also knew where I could throw that spanner in the conversation. And like some of the best podcasters will go out there and they'll turn up and they'll just say like a quote or something about them that you're not supposed to know, and then you just throw it at the guest and the guest has to deal with it. And it was fun being able to do that, but again, that was quite a lot of work, and sometimes if it didn't fit the conversation you couldn't get it in. And so I was like, I want to have some things where I'm actually having fun here, and I want that to come across on camera. So that was built into the episodes already. And then when I started doing it with Charles, I wanted a completely fresh look on some of those things. So certain elements when we have guests back on will still exist. So the show and tell I still want to stay. I still want the 3 pieces of advice. I still like having guest questions. Yeah. But we brought in the Grind My Gears section, which has arguably been the most successful addition to a podcast that I've known. Yeah. People love it. People love writing in saying what's pissed them off. It doesn't necessarily have to be fitness based, but a lot of them have been. And in terms of like making reels and stuff as well,
It's a
like
lot easier, yeah.
it's so much easier because like in itself, there's
And I
hooks
saw they've
everywhere.
done pretty well as well.
Yeah, like some of them, it's interesting as well. I mean, we don't need to go into platform versus platform, but there are things that take off on Instagram and there are things that don't even get a look in on TikTok. And then you post it on
Vice versa.
TikTok and I wake up the next morning and it's on like 50,000 views and it's just me saying that I don't like a specific type of backpack, but everyone's jumped on it telling me that I'm wrong. And I'm like, keep going. Like,
Yeah, you
it's
see, I'm
great.
still learning the platform, so I'm having a bit of a go personally as well. And it was good what you were saying earlier about liking it yourself, because there have been a few posts where I'm like, I'm just throwing that out there just to
Yeah.
throw that out there. And then it doesn't do well, and I'm like, well, you expected that.
Yeah.
I'd like to interrupt this podcast to say a big thank you to our sponsor, by himself, for filling us on these goddamn hills. We're here in Marbella, Spain, currently out in the countryside on a 12-kilometer hill to climb. It's tough, but when you got those electrolytes in you and you got the carb mix, makes it all better. Subscribe, baby.
But that also balancing the time of doing that and then the podcast stuff as well. But that kind of spun off where I said to myself, I'm struggling to make my podcast content interesting for Instagram and TikTok. You know, I'm just taking captions of people speaking, and I don't have that editing skill where I can do variations or be creative with it. So I said, okay, well, I know how to do it with my own stuff. So let's help Diet Starts Monday by doing it. And before, I was trying to get all the boys to do videos and trying to bring them together, which was just taking too much time. They weren't able to give me the right videos. And so I said, well, let me just do it myself and try and make short content that might go further and bring attention to Diet Starts Monday. So that was sort of why I spun off to what I'm doing now. But I'm also enjoying it. I'm learning the editing process.
I think that's what I found really good. And when I was saying like my life's completely changed, super speed background, went to university and did aeronautical engineering. So I've got a master's in aerospace engineering.
Aerospace engineering.
So I was working at Rolls-Royce in the Midlands
What?
for a couple of years.
No, you were.
Worked my way up to being a manager of a systems engineering
No
team.
way.
And then that's when I started the podcast.
So you smart as.
What, in theory, like on paper,
Wow.
that I have a piece of paper that says I'm smart on paper.
You're an aero engineer.
I'm an aero engineer, yeah.
That worked
for Rolls-Royce, yeah. So I know a lot about like planes. I know a lot about cars as well, because that was half
Sure.
of the degree, really.
That's interesting.
But I started the podcast, and that was again kind of trying to get me back towards fitness, because I'd always enjoyed sport. Again,
Yeah.
I went to Loughborough University, which
Yeah.
for those that aren't aware, in the UK is like, if you go to Loughborough, like all you care about is sport. Well,
Right.
like, at least that's what everyone thinks. It sucks
Yeah.
if you go to Loughborough to do arts, because everyone thinks you like sport and you probably don't like sport.
Right.
But it kind of gave me a way to bring back to working on something in sport, while I was also playing different sports. So when I started getting into the idea of editing, and for a very, very long time, and I'm only starting to say this out loud, I was doing all of the editing for everything on the podcast on my phone in CapCut. And I was doing that for
Well,
an
I still
embarrassing
use
long time.
CapCut on my
Yeah, and
phone,
don't
yeah.
get me wrong, like it's a great app.
Yeah.
It is a great app, but like I would be sat on the tube going to my next job. So I moved from the job that I was there. I realized, look, I don't like what I'm doing. I'm kind of doing it because I can do it. And I think I have to make a decision to leave it now before I am just a systems engineer at a company that does things quite slowly. So I decided to move within a consultancy into their business team, which brought me down to London. And I was like, cool, fresh start. I think I'll be good at business. Turns out sales life, and maybe it was that company. It sounds like it was that company. Was absolutely not for me.
Right.
So after seeing quite a few people at the company I was in not get treated the way that I would treat an employee, I called my own bluff and I quit on the spot with no real plan. But what I had was this stupid belief that all the editing skills that I'd learned could actually be put to some use,
Yeah.
and could pair up with one of my favorite hobbies when I was a young kid, which was using a camera. And so after kind of 2 months of panicking about what I was going to do with my life while I was on garden leave, I decided to go down the route of learning how to edit properly on a computer. And then,
So how did you do that?
so first step was to get CapCut on a desktop. So for those of you that have used CapCut on a phone, like I said, it's still a great app.
Yeah.
Get it on desktop.
I use
it's-
DaVinci Resolve.
So I'm now on DaVinci Resolve,
Right.
which is another level for sure.
Do you pay for the premium?
I have done, yeah, because it's a one-time
Part of the
thing.
business as well.
Yeah. So initially, I was doing everything on CapCut, and I don't know what it was, and I don't know if this is general holistic advice for people that you get on a podcast, but if you feel like you're doing the right thing with your life, things just seem to get lucky a lot. Every single time I needed to get lucky, whether it came with learning to edit something or whatever, the software seemed to update and have the thing I needed. And so my ability to learn how to do different things on the software just continued to develop as the tool developed. So I've been using CapCut for ages. I still have it
Were
downloaded.
you like YouTubing, or how are you?
I was following some stuff on YouTube, but also like figuring stuff out. And this is actually where the engineering brain came in. So in my engineering degree, obviously you reverse engineer stuff.
Yeah.
So like I'd see a video, and a lot of the trailers that I used to do for the guest episodes of the podcast, a lot of people would message me and be like, "Oh, are you deliberately copying the style of Stephen Bartlett's trailers?" And at the time, I wasn't a Stephen Bartlett fan, and so I had no idea what they were talking about. So then they sent me a couple of the trailers, and I was like, "Oh, wow. Seemingly we're doing the same sort of thing, but I'm doing it my way."
He must have copied you.
Yeah, 100%. No, there's actually a guy there's a team whose job it is to do the trailers, and they're very, very good at what they do. But once I started seeing what they were actually doing, I started trying to reverse engineer how I could do that in CapCut, and then figured it out. And then once it kind of got to the point where I was like, wow, I am still using CapCut. I was working with a client, and they were like, "Oh, use these settings." And I was like, I actually don't have those. Like, I can kind of make it look right. I know how to do that, but it's not going to be exactly what you say. And that's when I was like, cool, I think I need to be a big boy if I want to do this properly, and I need to move on to some more serious software, which I've done gradually. And only more recently I've actually lent on DaVinci more. I won't go too much into that because there are people listening that are like, I came here for a podcast about sport and stuff like that, and now we're talking about editing.
No, because I'm interested. So it's cool.
But it's definitely a powerful tool. But like I said, like all of my change in career has basically come through what I was learning with the podcast and the challenge that the podcast gave me that I wasn't really getting in my career. And it was always kind of scratching that creative itch. And yeah,
I've definitely had that as well, and I'm learning on DaVinci Resolve every day. But when it gets technical, I struggle. So, for example, the color grading. So I've put my my action camera, in the perfect situation for cinematic, in like a low gray. Now you got to color grade that. Now I'm like, shit.
So
you got to make like 8 nodes.
I guess for an explanation of color grading, because this is something that I'm still learning to do. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say that like I'm a.
You've got to make like 12 nodes and.
Yeah. So essentially, color grading is a fancy term for like making something look less shit, I guess. So like when you film in certain settings on your camera, if you supposedly know what you're doing, you'll film in a setting called S-Log, makes everything look super gray, super matte. And what that actually means is that you can kind of ramp up the colors you want it to. Similar for those that are still a bit lost as to when you post your picture on Instagram and you want to make it look a little bit less like you're in the UK on a summer's day. Yeah, you can click auto, you can, maybe bring the brightness up a bit, pretend it wasn't a grey day. That's essentially what you're doing when you're color grading. But when you're doing it properly with nodes in DaVinci, you're basically bringing in different layers. And like people that know Photoshop will understand that, but you're kind of doing one thing at a time that flow through each other. The thing that's really hard when you start is not doing it all in one node. Because like I said with the Instagram thing, you're kind of all doing it on one picture and that's the way you do it. But then when you're doing it with these nodes, the funniest thing about me learning DaVinci though, was I remember looking at it and looking at this node tree, which is what it's called when they're all connected. And it looked exactly like what I was doing at Rolls-Royce Systems Engineering. And I was looking at a systems model that I'd done 2 years ago. And I was like, how am I back here, but doing a totally different thing?
Wow.
But yeah, all of these things connect. You've got to learn what triggers how to do it. And you do have to learn where the eye gets involved. But there's 2 hacks that you probably already know about. But for people that are struggling, LUTs, lookup tables, very easy way. If you can find one where you can drag and drop it on, excellent, and then you can just do small tweaks. And then the other thing is a power grade. So if you don't know how to build your own node tree, download a power grade, which is where someone's already done a node tree for you, and it will be probably nicely labeled. You can then go into them and adjust them one by one based on what they've said to do. And like once you start learning that workflow, you can start to apply it to your own. And I mean, sometimes, and I've been having a conversation with another videographer recently. So generally what I found is most videographers in space are quite closed off about what they do. I'm not that sort of person. And I finally met one that also isn't. And I messaged him the other day because I was like, he put something up on his Instagram and I was like, this is so good. Like, what was your node tree? Like, what did you work off? And he was like, bro, this is literally just a LUT. And then I added a bit of shadow.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, cool. So you don't actually have to have
Yeah,
12 nodes
yeah,
and spend
yeah.
half an hour doing each clip.
Just get a good.
If it looks good, it looks good.
But my problem is you find a good LUT and then the one shot's like a little bit in the dark and the LUT doesn't work.
Yeah, so then you can add another node
Right.
and you can just work on that.
Okay.
But like that doesn't mean you should bin the LUT
Yeah,
necessarily.
Okay.
Bring it in, see if there's one or two things wrong with it. Try and fix that. And if you can't fix that, then just try another one.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Let's move on to sports.
Yes.
I have a bone to pick with you and Charles again.
Okay. We're used to this.
The tri-belt ice headband.
Yeah.
It works, dude.
Does it?
They love it. The
Sure.
pros love it.
Oh, of course they do, because they
Yeah.
get paid bag for it. Have you seen how expensive that is?
Yeah, it's like 300 quid.
It's ridiculous for a piece of fabric with a bit of tinfoil on it. Yeah. For anyone that's wondering what this is, I mean, I've literally said what it is. It's a sweatband,
Yeah,
which has got
the
20.
triathletes wear.
Yeah, it's got 20 metal bristle packs that come out, and it categorically says on their website, if you don't have all 20, it won't work.
Really? Does it say
And
that?
the reviews, by the way, reviews are phenomenal. Everyone backs it. But in the 5-star reviews, is quite a lot of people saying, yeah, it works great for the first 2 minutes, and then it must work from there on, I guess, but I can't feel it. So it's like,
Because
I've
everyone's
also,
in the death zone when they're running in a triathlon.
you know, when you're like, I don't know, you're in a hot room and you find a metal surface that's a bit cold, so
Yeah,
you
yeah.
touch it for
Yeah,
a bit.
yeah.
Lovely,
Yeah.
right? But then as soon as your hand has cooled down a bit, or like it itself has warmed up, it's pointless.
You'll see this weekend. It's race week for everyone
Yeah,
that's
and-
listening.
yeah.
T100 this weekend.
Are you running with one of those on?
Oh, I'm excited. No,
Oh, thank God. I was
I'm
going to
not
say
sponsored
I'm not
yet.
filming you.
Yeah. If they pay me, then I will. But you'll see a lot of the pros wearing it.
Yeah.
A lot of the pros. Jamie Riddle's the South African triathlete coming out. He's a wild card for the T100 this weekend.
Yeah.
Super excited to watch him. And he's sponsored by that, so he'll be wearing it. And it's going to be hot. It's going to be 26 degrees on pro day. It's going to be 28 degrees on
Yeah, it's going to
For
be
our
it's going to be a warm weekend,
Um,
which is definitely going to be fun when you're in the depths of London, for sure, on the bike.
Well, I'm just so excited, and we'll touch on this for your events as well. But I feel like these 5 months of build up to a race, I've just pictured the finish line. Like every time I get up in the morning, and you're working towards something. Now you're in race week, and it's like I'm frothing to get out.
Yeah.
It's like it's quite amazing what goes through the body and the mind when you put yourself into these situations. Because what these races are doing for us mere mortals is kind of giving you a little bit of what it's like for a pro athlete.
For
you know?
sure. Like there's a crowd. You
Yeah.
get to do. I mean, you're doing the same transition process. You're doing the same setup as what the pros do. The
Yeah.
guys that get paid to do this, and yeah, you get that little piece of this is what it would be like
Yeah.
if I was 20 minutes faster.
And if you look, if you look at UFC, they have their like training blocks. So like I've gone through my training block, and now it's taper, and everything's ready, and you kind of feel it's a really cool feeling to go through.
I'm still undecided on this, and this is the sort of thing that me and Chucks talk about on the podcast. But like, is taper for the body or is it for the mind? Is it really for both? Like,
That's such a good
I
question.
think it's so dependent on the person you are, because I know taper for me is really hard.
It's excruciating, yeah.
Because like I just want to move, and part of me's like, my body's used to moving, so surely it's better off if I don't. But then,
Well, you're still meant to move a little bit.
yeah,
Yeah.
So that's another thing. Is
Yeah.
like you go on Facebook, and all the mums and dads will be like, oh, I'm taking 2 weeks off before I do my park run because my body needs to rest.
And then they do nothing for 2
And then
weeks,
so like it's not that you do need to move 100%, but like when you are approaching your race, you get so used to doing the race speed stuff.
Mm.
And then you kind of have to taper that off, and you do keep moving, or you do short bursts ideally. But sometimes it's a bit like that horse in the pen before it gets let go, and you want to release some of that and release some of the nerves and everything like that. But like you really have to hold it in so that come race day you can actually let it all out.
Well, then what the problem is, you're too eager that you go too quickly. So one of my biggest problems recently is I swim way too fast.
I know this.
I get it. They call it. So my coach says it's called getting aroused.
Yeah,
That's what they call it. Pro athletes, like you get aroused at the beginning of a race. and I jump in and I just go too fast. I'm too excited. My heart rate 170, and then it's 170 for
You
the whole
come out of the
race.
water in third, you can't even undo your own wetsuit.
Literally.
Yeah.
That has literally happened to me.
I know. I was
I
watching
got
the
video
I
footage.
watched the YouTube.
I did, yeah.
Yeah, I watched the YouTube. Yeah, I mean, that's the classic thing. And I mean, if we're talking about being a hybrid rock star for a moment, which is the worst thing ever to happen to me, but hybrid rock star, so Hyrox, like everyone goes out too hot.
Yeah.
And it's classic generally, I think, in endurance sports, and it's an ego thing as well as like the excitement thing. But yeah, you enter a state of arousal and like
Yeah.
you're great, and then you get punched in the face pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. You say you've been thinking about the finish line quite a lot, talking about the like headspace of the competition. Have you thought? Do you ever think about or give time to the things that could go wrong and how you'll deal with them, or have you only thought like it's going to be fine, like everything's going to be fine, or do you think like could have another flat tire?
Yeah.
It's like if it happens, it happens. Whatever, cool.
Yeah.
We'll carry on. Do you ever think about those options, or you just try and block all those out and think race is going to be perfect?
Yeah, I don't think about them.
Really?
Probably not enough.
Yeah.
I probably should think about them more. Because I don't know if it was you or someone spoke about Michael Phelps. He always would close his eyes in case his goggles would fill up with water.
It wasn't me. But
Did
that's
you ever
really
hear that?
interesting.
Yeah, so he would talk about how he would always imagine his goggles filling up with water and then practice swimming with his eyes closed so that he knew what to do in that situation. Interesting.
I like that. And that's the sort of thing that like I get very mentally fatigued in sport. I'm partly because I think about a lot of things. It's quite evident in like what I did for a degree and then just binned it off and changed.
Is that like
something
an
else.
anxious thing, or is it just
I don't know. I feel like I'm constantly trying to be self-aware, like of everything all the time. And it's very tiring, especially when you're demanding so much from your body in like a race setting. But I am fully expecting certain things to happen. So in a Hyrox setting, there's so many tiny things where like a judge can have their opinion on something and pull you back. And I'm very much not the person to get mad about it because I'm half expecting it. But it's also just like when it happens, I'm like, okay, whatever, here we go. We knew that was going to happen. Kind of try and bring a smile into that to make it seem less painful.
Yeah.
But a lot of the time that doesn't happen. So I've just wasted all of that mental energy.
Yeah, so I definitely don't think about that. I'm just excited to get out there. It's almost like anything can happen. I still won't mind.
It's something that I've had to learn. So if I go back a step, before I did Hyrox, I did another weird sport. I did American football.
That's not weird.
It's weird for this country.
I mean,
so,
you the size for it.
Well, yeah. So
What were you?
I'm 6'5".
What were you in American football?
Oh, I was guess actually. This is fun.
Right receiver.
Right receiver. Close enough. I was actually a quarterback.
Okay.
I hate to be that guy, but yeah, I was the guy that threw the ball.
So you an engineer that worked for Rolls Royce. That's a quarterback.
Yeah.
Hyrox podcast athlete.
Yeah, like give me all of the hashtags that you can, basically. Yeah, I
That's cool. Where?
used to play. So I used to play rugby. Had the classic thing where like maybe could have been good if I didn't get injured.
Yeah.
But family wasn't too keen on me continuing to play rugby after a pretty bad season where I only ended up playing like 4 games across the whole season because I was injured. I'd like come back from injury and just break something else.
Right.
So went off to uni and I kind of started watching the NFL. And so I went along to this tryout and they were like, you're tall, you'd be good as a wide receiver. So that's where I started off. And then I was just throwing in some of the warm-ups and the QB coach was like,
Yeah, now that I think about it, you have a serious arm, yeah.
And it helps being tall because you can see over the guys that are supposed to protect you. I say supposed to protect you. In this country, they don't do a very good job of that. I doubt any of them are listening, but if they are, I'm joking. But like, yeah, I started playing at Loughborough in the university, which was a bit of an odd time. When you actually start to learn about the sport, you learn that there's many different ways of playing it. And I was not a fan of the way that we decided to play it. It meant that I got hit a lot. So a lot of my training was strength, power, protecting the body, nothing to do with endurance. So like the average player in American football, I think, lasts 6 seconds.
Yeah.
So I've only got to be able to go for that long. And then I started playing for a different team called Tamworth. We went to the national championship finals. We won it one year, but the year that I was the starting quarterback for the final, this is when I learned to like switch the brain off a bit.
Wow.
Because we were going into it and we were playing a team called the London Warriors who had like won it something like 8 of the last 10 years. Like they were huge guys. You think I'm tall. They they grow these freaks, I'm sure, in South London, and they get them all to play there. But they were a very good team, and I think the closest game they'd had that season was something like 48-0.
Wow.
They put 100 points on a team, which is a joke.
Yeah.
So we turned up and we knew that it was going to be a pretty tough game. But rather than going into it trying to overanalyze everything that I'd seen on film and think about all the eventualities of what could go wrong, I was like, look, I'm literally turning up here. We're supposed to lose. We are supposed to not just lose, we're supposed to lose badly.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm going to go out there and have a lot of fun. Going into halftime, it was like 28-22. Like, it was a tight game. We came out, we scored again. And then we were I was just having the best time. Just like being a bit,
It's nice when it's tight
being a
like
bit of
that
an
as well.
idiot and like going out and just enjoying myself, not thinking about what could go wrong. Yeah, we ended up losing. But like I said, we were supposed to. And they, for most of that game, spent the whole game. Well, they spent most of that game stressing about the fact they were actually going to lose when they had it on a platter. So from that point onwards, whenever I've approached any game before I stopped playing, going into these sports, it's like, do everything you can up until like 2 nights before. And then like, you're done. The actual event, so your triathlon this weekend is literally just a resolution of the training you've done so far. It's obviously a look into the Ironman that you're going to be doing in a couple of months, but like, as far as the work for Sunday's done, like you're done with that. So you can just go out there, enjoy the atmosphere, enjoy the route, enjoy the fact that London roads aren't actually busy for once when you're on the bike. That kind of thing.
Exactly. If I get a flat tire, I'm pretty stuffed again.
Do you want me to carry one in my back pocket? Just throw it at you.
No, I have the stuff.
Yeah.
I must actually watch a
quick
YouTube video on how to change it.
Quick change. Yeah. Just take someone else's bike.
Usually they have mechanics.
Yeah.
I'm like thinking I'm a pro. Like, come help me. No, but let's talk about, so when you come up to, what was your latest big race or event that you sort of prepared for, and then take us through a little bit of what you do.
Oh, this is going to be so funny. So Cardiff, Hyrox was the most recent race that I've done that is like a sport that I trained for.
Was it individual or pairs?
Yeah, so to begin with, I started doing Hyrox like last year. I did my first one. It was doubles. I thought I was so fit, like going into it. And then I walked into this place and everyone was built like a Greek god.
Literally, what is that? Like, is it the strength element of...
It's probably, like... They only started testing people recently. And at an amateur level, they're definitely not. But no, like, I think the biggest thing, and this is one of, if we do some grind my gears, this is going to be on there. But like, a lot of people have come from more like a strength background that go into it. So 90% of the people you see are from a strength background and they can kind of run, and they'll do like average. They're never the fast ones. The fast ones are usually a bit more of like an endurance build because 50% of the race is running. Well,
I was actually told if you're a strong triathlete,
you'll probably do very well. Because I mean, the main things that we're starting to learn, and this is the fun thing about it being a new sport, is like no one's got the blueprint for how to be best at it just yet. Like people are figuring it out, but no one's there yet. Key players are like what your VO2 max is and what your threshold capacity is. Like,
what's your VO2 max?
I haven't had it officially tested. I can tell you what my watch tells.
What does it say?
My watch is currently on 62.
62? You're like a superhuman, dude.
Well, I mean, according to my watch, but like
mine's only 53.
It's like 10 out. But 53 is still in like the elite category.
It is, but I did a genetics test once, and basically it wrote out my sort of sporting ability, and endurance was low and strength was higher. So if I went into a sort of strength sport, I'd perform better than endurance, because I'm quite a big lad, like bulky, I guess, big boned.
Whereas I'm the opposite. One of the things that I always struggled with when I was doing the power stuff in American football was that, like, with long levers and everything, it takes me a lot to get going, but stopping me, I'm a bit more like a freight train, but I'll just plod away. Like, I'll just continue.
What technically does your VO2 max tells me that you have a much bigger engine than I do?
Again, on paper, it's like scenario based. So like, in certain settings, that will generally imply that my engine is slightly better for longer distance stuff. However, how my body's natural response to those quick changes or sudden surges is still different to you, and that's genetic. Like there's not a lot of things that I can do to change that apart from specific training. Because
it's interesting, because like, say you came and did the race with me this weekend, you would struggle in that long distance, but
I'm struggling in the swimming. I don't swim. I wish I swam, but you'd be off in third for one, and I'd be for that.
Well, the problem with what I am happy about with the swimming is that I swam my whole life. So people that don't swim, it is like a huge cuck start to the race.
Big time.
You know, for me, anything can happen. You can punch me in the face. Like, I'm still just gonna, even if I swim slowly, like, I'm still super comfortable. I love the water, wetsuit. I understand how it works. Like, nothing's gonna bother me in the swim.
I don't think I'd freak out. It would just be like,
You'll be
it just
surprised.
feels long.
No.
Well, people get, I mean, you get punched and kicked in the
Yeah,
face.
yeah,
I wouldn't like that.
So what happens is you get aroused, the
Yeah.
gun goes off, you all jump, now you're all swimming. And what
Yeah.
happens in swimming, your first 400 meters, you get super tired, you get extra tired, you like collapse, and you're like starting to drown, can't breathe. It can get quite hectic.
Kind of side note, I think I know the answer to this, but in a race setting, do you prefer to be chased or chase?
Yo, that's a good question. Chase.
You prefer to chase?
Yeah.
Because I find that interesting based on the fact that when you are in the water, obviously you're very comfortable in the water, but like you like to come out early on in the leading chase pack, because I almost do like the worst. So I was doing this until this year in Hyrox. In Hyrox, they set you off in your wave time. So not everyone, like everyone's out there, but you get sent every 10 minutes. I would, to stop myself getting so like excited at the beginning of a race and going off too hot, I would literally let everyone leave the pen.
Yeah.
And I'd wait until they'd gone around the first corner so I couldn't see anyone. And then I'd go, because it's on chip time. So it only matters when I cross the line.
Yeah.
But that way I can go off at the pace that I'm steady with. And I can just tick one person off as I go past. And I get that continued motivation of another one, another one, another one. So like if I go back through my stats, there's a couple of apps where you can like see where you were in the race compared to everyone else. And for me, it's just like a line that climbs until the end. And I'll explain that in a bit. But yeah.
It's such a good point, because that's why I said chase. But the most demoralizing thing is when I come out the water in third and I have 150 cyclists come whizzing past me, because I'm not
I'd
great.
want to be one of them.
I'm not great on the bike.
I'd absolutely want to be
But
one
then I hunt them down on the run.
Yeah. That's fair. So I think based on how my transition sport-wise has gone, the biggest thing for me has been the running. So like going back to preparing for Cardiff, the whole season. So I managed actually this year to race every format possible within Hyrox as a bloke. So solo open, solo pro a few times, mixed doubles.
So you've done quite a few races, eh?
I think I raced like 10 or 11 times this season.
Oh, wow.
Which I kind of regret, but like race experience is so important, especially in that setting.
Is that what you're training for on an everyday basis?
Pretty much, yeah. Like
it's
yeah,
your sport.
I would say that it is.
Moment.
Yeah, and it's put me in the best shape that I've been in.
Yeah.
With a little asterisk, because I've lost a lot of muscle, and this is what I was going to come back to. Is like doing so much endurance means that you can't really stick to the same split, and you need to have recovery days. And in my old like training split, I didn't really need recovery days because I could just do one muscle set on a rotation. So that's been a massive impact on like my availability training wise on time. So I still feel like the fittest I have ever been in my life as a result. But the tough thing is that my career change has really impacted my ability to do the sport as well. So I started filming, and the thing that was natural for me to film was Hyrox events, which means that I haven't done a race this season where I haven't been filming for at least 2 days beforehand.
Right.
And on most of those days, especially getting into this, like I'm trying to do as much work as I can, get as much experience as I can. I think on average, I've done 45,000 steps in the lead up to me going out.
So you're ready.
So I'm absolutely fucked.
Yeah.
And Cardiff was an absolute example of that. Not only had I did everything training wise, and I still filmed, but I did everything training wise for a race in Barcelona, and I got absolutely rinsed. It was my first pro weight one, and you can go ahead and look at what else happened for people that were over there, but it was a really interesting race for the sleds. Everyone was complaining about them. I didn't know because it was my first pro, but when I came off the back of it and I saw other people that I did know that had had very, very good times be 4 or 5 minutes slower than usual, I was like, oh. So I then signed myself up for Cardiff, which was 4 weeks later. I got ill. I'd burnt out off the back of Barcelona. The following week was London. And Chucks was actually supposed to be racing with his business partner. And he was like, I'm injured. Can you step in? So last minute, I stepped in. We sent a pretty good time out there. But again, I was ill and I was burnt out, and I did that on top. So then my prep for Cardiff was just like, just get faster at running. Continue to get faster at running. That's the thing.
How do you do that? How are you doing that?
So just tempo, intervals, recovering.
Where are you training?
So, yeah, I love this. I am so basic on every level. So, like, I train in at a pure gym. It's like 30 quid.
You run there?
Yep, they've
What a treadmill.
yeah, they've got the assault runner, which everyone generally hates, but like if everyone hates it, it's got to be pretty
You
good.
should come run with us.
I will. I will come, but that's the thing is like rain or shine, I can go in,
Yeah.
get my session done,
Yeah.
and like the thing that I really like about it is it's so easy to control my pacing. It's like basically being a Battersea Park, but again without the little bit of sloping that's on there. But like it's just a perfect run. I can get in, get out. It's
Well, we
10
can
minutes
go
away
on the
from home.
track at Battersea Park. I love the track there.
Do you know what? That's a grind my gear.
Yeah.
Battersea Park track, terrible.
I thought you said great idea.
Battersea Park. Well, no, it's a good idea. Like as far as track running goes, I
Tell
can't
me why
recommend it
its
enough.
grinds are good.
How many people do you reckon go through those doors?
Lots. 5
Lots.
pounds ago.
Cool. £5 ago. I reckon they're getting minimum 200-300 a day. If we're averaging
During the summer, definitely.
over summer, like for
Yeah.
sure. Why is the track in such bad state, and why are the toilets so bad? If you're putting in that much money, and you're also part of a franchise, Fusion Fitness, what's going on there? Like I get put off by the smell of the toilets when I'm like outside the pear tree and I'm like 50 meters away from the building. But also I genuinely think there's a few people that could probably say they've been injured by that track. There's cracks in it. It's
Really?
uneven. It's worn away on the inside lane. Not a massive fan.
So funny. I just don't know. I just kind of, I'm quite blasé.
Yeah, I mean, I try to not care, but it's like if I'm paying £5
Yeah.
every time I'm coming in here and it's just not getting any better, then I was like, cool. I'll either go and use a different track like a Tooting, or I will just do it on an assault runner. Where also the other thing that I like about the assault runner, as much as people hate it because you have to drive it yourself, the load, which is quite a big thing for me. Like I am
It's
tall,
less on your.
it's way less on my joints, which means that I can do all of my speed
That
sessions.
makes
It's way
sense.
less fatiguing. But the other thing that I've done, which has drastically made a difference, especially in my VO2 max, is I sit on a bike or a C2 bike for like 6-7 hours a week. And I'm just there turning it over for recovery to just build that aerobic
So not
base.
even too fast, just base level, base
Sit
training.
in zone 2 as honestly as possible for as long as possible. So whether that is on one day I've only got 45 minutes.
That's pretty good mentally, like the mental capacity to just sit there and grind it out.
Yeah, and like some days I'm just like, I've just got to get it in, and it is a recovery, so I don't mind chucking a YouTube video on. But other days I'm like, cool, I'm going to turn this bike at the wall, and there's going to be nothing, and like we're just going to grind through it.
Do you feel like a little meditation out of that?
Yeah, and like I have to say, a lot of the thinking that needs doing with general life gets done in that time, because like there's nothing else to do, and so you have a lot of those internal conversations. So like it has become quite an important part of my training for that sort of thing as well. But yeah, I mean,
that's a good question. Like, when are you most creative? When are you thinking about your podcast and your reels? And because I can go into a spiral, that type of stuff, and my partner has to sometimes go, hello.
it's genuinely really hard, and like a lot of the time I get an idea and then I just go for it. And that goes also with my training, because I'm self-coached. So like sometimes
ChatGPT coach.
Yeah, so that's another thing. But like again, we talked about like things happen for a reason at the right time when you seem like you're doing the right thing. But I wouldn't be anywhere close to where I am right now. I wouldn't be in this chair if ChatGPT didn't exist.
I love ChatGPT. I want to read you something.
But like last year, for those that don't know, I started using ChatGPT to try and coach myself, and I still kind of reflect ideas off it, but I do a lot of research on my own, present it, see if it thinks that I'm being stupid from what it knows, and then we'll basically build a session together and I'll go do it. I don't do that on a daily basis. Like I have a routine. But definitely when it comes to a lot of the science behind aerobic capacity and that sort of thing, like I 100%.
100%. I mean, I asked it to give me like a goal for T100 in terms of heart rate, because I've been worried about my heart rate, as you would have heard in the YouTube video, being too high. It says it's fine, by the way.
Cool. I'm glad. So, I don't have to worry on Sunday.
Instead of just telling me how fast to go, he goes, "You're strong in the water, so just hold back slightly compared to your race swims." It's like just that little. You're strong in the water
thing. The more you talk to it, the more it becomes like you.
Yeah.
So like I feel weird. I do this with everyone. Like I can't really just start a conversation without saying hey first. So like I'll start my conversation like, "Hey dude," and it will always reply now like, "What's up, dude?" And I'm like, "This is weird. Like, please don't do that, actually." But yeah, so I bounce a lot of those ideas off, and one of the important things is it's really good at recognizing when I'm like overloading. So going into Cardiff, it was like, you need to chill out.
How did it know though? Were you plugging in your details?
So I was just saying like, oh, I've done this as lead up.
Right.
Like,
so you're letting
I'm
it
trying
know.
to do my taper. Yeah, I try and log as much as I can, so that I can just ask it questions, and but I'm not like being weird about it. I'm just being like, cool, I did a run yesterday. This is my average pace, and it's like, sweet, thanks. So it was like, okay, you're also filming this weekend. Bear that in mind. This is the last race of the season. You can't qualify for Worlds here, and you're going to be in the Principality Stadium. Like, enjoy it. And I was like, cool. Got to that point in the day, and I was like, so right. Like, I feel absolutely mashed.
Yeah.
I'd only eaten 2 muffins the entire day. My race wave start time was 8 p.m. at night. So I'd had 2 muffins and 1 bottle of
8
water the whole
p.m.
day.
That's tough.
I'd filmed 6 races. I must have walked the course. I think that day I was on like 27,000 steps before the
Well,
race
that's
started.
not enough nutrition.
No.
off the
And
bat.
so I was like, I am in this stadium. This is wicked. Like, I'm just going to go out there and enjoy it. So I did. And all was going well. And I was like, I'm going to enjoy it, but I've got these little targets of things that I've not done in other races on the stations that I could do better. So I want to be like more consistent, or maybe slightly faster on that station, but not overall. And I came into like the second last station and I looked at my watch and I was like 2 minutes ahead of my personal best. And I was like, oh, like we're on here.
Yeah.
Like, let's put the gas down then. We've only got what, 8 to 10 minutes left of this race. Like, let's go for it. There was nothing there. You know, like when you reach for the next gear and there was nothing there.
100%.
So what happened was I really struggled. I got into the final station, which is the wall balls. I actually don't remember the last 10. But I went into a pretty dark place mentally, crossed the line, told all my friends, like, I'm good. You guys go watch my other friends that were just starting. I'll come find you in a moment. I wanted them just to go.
Yeah.
Because what I needed to do was what I did. I lay on the floor for 25 minutes, feeling super lightheaded.
Mm.
Someone tried to help me up and I went to full body like shock spasm, threw up all over the floor, made a massive mess. It was disgusting, super embarrassing moment. And then they tried to wheelchair me out of the finish area. And like the first thing they said was, what have you had to eat and drink today? And I was like, okay, so hands up straight away. I've had 2 muffins at like 8 o'clock this morning. And then I had 1 bottle of water. They were like, did you drink stuff as you went around? I was like, the water station was inconvenient. So I just ignored it. And I was out there having fun. Like, I'm really sorry. So it was obvious that that's what happened. But like,
Yeah.
I just put myself mentally in a position where I suddenly wanted to achieve something. I got so competitive with it that I just ended up harming myself. So like, as much as my training, I try and do so much mentally, and I try and think about all those things that can go wrong sometimes. Like,
Where
at the
did,
end of the day, it
where
comes a
did your
time-
mind go in those last 10 minutes?
So a lot of stuff has happened this year, like on a personal level, which I'm open about. But like, I lost my dad earlier this year, which was
Yeah.
kind of expected because it was terminal. Like, we knew it was coming, but it all happened very quickly. There was just a lot of mess around that whole situation, which we weren't expecting. So there was a lot of stress and a lot of that sort of thing. Plus, you know, I'm trying to build a business. I'm working on my own. So much was going on. And so it was basically like, I needed to prove to myself that I could do something when I had nothing left, which is pretty deep, but like,
So that's what
exactly
you're
what it
saying to
was.
yourself in that moment almost.
It was basically just like proving who I was and that I wasn't going to be someone that I could be. Again, like losing my dad, nothing on him, but there's a lot of things he didn't do in his life. And I really wanted to, and I do a lot of the things that I do to prove myself that, you know, I'm going to finish what I start and that sort of thing. That's kind of related to
Yeah.
that. So it was that, and I just pushed it too far.
Well,
Yeah.
It's interesting because to push yourself so far, so I struggle to get over that line because like I get tingles in the back of my mind and I get fearful for like passing out or just something going wrong. Like my anxiety starts to like tap in a little bit when
it's supposed to, by the way. Like,
Yeah.
that's normal.
Yeah.
But
But then I struggle to, if you had to put it in numbers, say my heart rate's 180, like for me to go to 185, I like have a bit of a,
yeah, I have the same fear. Like 185 is like, ooh, that's my red line. That's where things do go wrong. But
Yeah.
like, I'm not actually scared to get there anymore because I've done it enough times.
yeah.
I know when I'm going to start to feel faint, and like, it's less scary. But yeah, there's a part of me when I get there, or there's a part of me where I'm in certain situations where it gets tough, where I'm just like it is what it is.
Yeah.
Like, and I saw there's a guy called something Truitt who's like an absolute freak at the moment, who's out
Oh,
there
yeah,
running
yeah, yeah. The pull-up
2:30
guy.
something. Yeah, he's running like a 2:30
In
marathon
jeans.
in jeans. Like, guy's crazy, but he has a hat that says like, it is just pain. Like, that is actually all it is. Like,
Yeah,
it is
yeah.
just pain. It will go away. But this kind of ties into last week, or just under 2 weeks ago. I got signed up for an ultra with about 72 hours notice, 5.1 kilometers in the trails on the hour every hour, and in the remaining time you're doing max distance on the ski erg. My volume preparation for that, obviously for an ultra where you're doing 60 plus K on the day plus ski erg, you know, you're going to be trying to build those miles up. In the 30 days prior, because it was my Hyrox off season, I'd done a total of, I think, 11K, maybe 15K.
You must call me next time these things come up.
So-
I'd love to do that.
So, well, I was literally roped in for as a replacement for
Yeah,
someone
yeah.
else that dropped out. So I went up there and it was just like, I'm gonna do
Where's
this.
up there?
It's gonna suck. It was up in Bolton, not a
Okay.
place to visit,
Mhm.
just north of Manchester. But it was actually a lovely countryside area, but like other than that. But it was really cool. It was an event run by Represent 247.
Right. Oh yeah.
Really cool. And in like hindsight, what a day. At the time, I was just getting through it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was just one lap at a time. Like it sucked.
How many
it
did you
hurt.
do?
All 12.
Oh well.
Just yeah, I knew when I signed up for it, like you're going to be doing the 60 to 65.
And no injuries.
So that's the weird thing. Like the next day, I did an ultra last year again on a bit of a whim without much training, and like the next day it was really hard to walk. Honestly, the next day I felt pretty good. Probably could have done
See,
far
you've
more
got an
running than I
engine.
did.
You've got the engine for the ultra.
The issue with that is, and we've spoken about this on my podcast as well, is like it was one of our grind my gears, the people that do ultras and immediately try and go back into training.
Yeah.
And I didn't. I gave myself some rest, but I was really like, wow, like my
Feeling
body's,
good.
my
Recovery
body's
was
fine,
strong.
like all good. So I eased into it and then I started doing some speed training, everything like that. And then all of a sudden, like woke up from a bad sleep and like my right side of my body is mashed and like my right knee hurts a lot. And I'm like, this is deserved. 100% this is deserved. It's good to know that I can do the hard thing when the hard thing happens, but like you really do have to be sensible. And like you aren't a freak.
I would love to. I haven't gone that deep. Half Ironmans, they're not that deep. It's like you're getting there, but you're not there.
Yeah.
That's why I'm kind of excited for the full Ironman because I want to know what. And that's not even deep. It's one day.
Yeah.
You know, if you look at the scheme of what people are doing these days.
Yeah. I think, I don't know if this is just me or my perception of it, but like when you're in those really dark holes and you know you're in it, like if you can take half a step back and just be like, is this actually, it's like, it's not actually that bad.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, everything really hurts.
Yeah.
But like, it's not actually that bad. Like it's built up. You know, I was in the biggest hole of my life. Like I was 40K into the 42K after you're doing, you know, the bike and the swim. Like it's obviously going to hurt. And I've not done an Ironman, so I'm like, take this with a massive pinch of salt. But like, yeah, that's gonna hurt. Like it is gonna hurt. But is it gonna hurt as much as like your leg being chopped off? Like no. It's not. So like, it sucks. And you put yourself there. So kind of enjoy it because the reason that you're going to inevitably buy the ticket to the next one is for that. So like at the same time, I hate to be that person that's like, appreciate that I'm in the sport, appreciate the pain, but like that is kind of why you're there.
Yeah. It's a weird, I can't actually tell why we're there. Like what is the actual, you can't put like a,
I think you
it's
won't
not
know
black and
either.
white.
Like I never know when I'm going to fall into that place. And that's kind of the beauty of it. But like when it happens.
We finished the
it's
half
fun.
Ironman in ZMZ and we all looked at each other and said, not again for a while. The next week we were
Yeah,
planning the full
100%.
Ironman.
It's because you kind of forget all the tough stuff and
Yeah.
like you remember all the endorphins and like the atmosphere on the day. And like again, looking at this weekend with the T100, like there's gonna be so many people there. It's gonna be music pumping.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna be a great day. Like it's gonna be sunny. It's gonna be hot. Everyone's gonna be having a great time. Like that's what you're gonna remember in a week's time. You're not gonna remember where it hurts.
Yeah, for sure. It's like breaking up. You only think about the good things or when you leave a place.
Exactly.
But I think there are going to be quite a lot of cameras that ever since I started talking to you and then
Yeah.
started talking to other people, it's going to be a content creative.
Oh, big time. Like I think the T100 have done a good job of getting on the marketing team.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's going to be a lot of stuff coming out about it, and it's becoming like a trendy thing. Like I don't know if it's just the network that I've got into, but a lot of people are starting to turn towards triathlon.
Yeah, it's
big time. And one of the guys that I train with, a guy called Will, it's actually on Low Island. Really weird sort of spin off for him. But he is doing his first Ironman in Copenhagen next week. And he's literally got into this as kind of like, I want to do something different. Yeah, he's doing a full. So he did a 70.3 last year.
Copenhagen one apparently is really nice.
Yeah, and funnily enough, and this is funny, he's terrified of the swim. I mean, he doesn't do much swim. He's had a few panic attacks in the pool learning. So he's kind of in
the pool learning.
Yeah. Wow. So he's now doing lessons, which is really smart.
Yeah.
Like he's not too
to
egotistical to
do what
lessons.
You said. Wait.
So he's waiting.
Go.
He's gonna let everyone go first. But he has picked Copenhagen because he's looked it up and you can stand in areas on the swim.
Interesting.
So he knows that he's okay.
I saw another one where they do a lot of walking because it's so shallow. Estonia.
Oh, he did another one last year where he said he could stand. So I don't think it was Estonia, but there's a few out there.
But
so
there's a few.
He's relying on that. But like he's gonna absolutely mince the bike ride. So he's like he doesn't care how long the swim takes him.
Well, that's my grind.
The
my
bike
gears.
ride and the run.
It's the road bike. The road cyclists come into the triathlon and they just cream it because it's the biggest part of the race and they love the cycling.
I think Oh, if we can do grind my gear, well, one that I've got is transition. And again, this comes from a person that hasn't done triathlon, right? Transition is the funniest thing to me. Like, you guys train so hard, you spend so long on a bike, you spend so long running, all of this in the hope that you can drop your 4:25 per kilometer down to a 4:22 in the next race. Like, you do so much for that. And then you sit and have a chat while you're doing your like transition. Like, I'm just going to change my shoes. Like, let me take my wetsuit off and do up my lycra. Let me walk. Let me have a chat. Let me have a kiss with whoever's over there. Cool. But like, then you come off and you're like, damn, my run was like average 1 second over. Like, what the hell? Like, guys, you're spending 10 minutes having a chat, having a cup of tea in T1 or T2.
No,
Get the
yeah,
fuck out there.
yeah,
What are you
yeah,
doing?
yeah. No, I'll be pretty quick, I hope. My biggest fear is not remembering to undo my shoelace. It is the worst when you get to your running shoes. You've just put in a hard
What
shift on the bike.
like the night before or the day
When it's and you
before?
get there and you know when your shoe and the lace gets tight and dry, you're now tired and sweaty, and you teething your oh,
See, this is what they're mucking around doing this stuff. What do you mean?
I know it's
The night before, you've got like a few things to check.
a
Have I
few
got my
things.
goggles? Have I got my chip?
There's a lot of things. There's
Yeah.
3 bags, clothes, goos, nutrition. There's like a lot. So you got to have
Lay
all
it
your
all out a
goos,
week
all your
before, take a
bars.
picture, and then just check against the
Yeah,
picture.
no, you're right. You're right. My grind, my gears for triathlon are the helmets.
Oh, yeah.
Like if
Yeah.
I want to push, my goal with my whole fitness journey is not necessarily to become a triathlete. I'm doing the London Marathon next year.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, I got in charity entry, so that's cool.
Nice.
And I want to step into Hyrox 100%. Like for me, it's more the fitness and like challenging myself and going after it. But even if I wanted to get stronger, I just could never wear one of those helmets.
One of the like proper aero teardrop ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The worst.
It's like
Just-
this was going to be another grind my gears thing, but like triathletes or people that have been doing it for a while, or like people that do Ironman, and that's like their only thing. You have too much money and too much time.
Yeah.
Like, because to actually be good at it, like the amount of time you have to put in, like
Unless you're a pro.
Yeah.
Or content creator for a triathlete.
Yeah. And you spoke about this on one of your recent podcasts about how content creators make it seem like they're not pros, but they literally live the pro lifestyle. They're just not as good.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing is like, if you're kind of at an age in life where you know you're probably not going to be world champion because you're not going to go down the route of getting an elite level coach, and you're not going to make those kind of sacrifices, then like, why are you sacrificing, spending time on the golf course, having some friends, and not spending your money on a new carbon spoke that you don't need for your rear wheel?
But this is a good point, because I am sacrificing a lot more of those things to put in the training, but I do love it as well.
I know, yeah, it's tough.
So there's a balance, and I was thinking about this today to talk to you about, and we kind of run our course, but I'm really getting to a point where I'm confident in my decisions, and I'm sticking with them. So for example, if I don't want to drink at a dinner table, I'm only now for the first time ever like actually doing that. Do you know what I mean?
Do you know what? This is row comment. Alcohol's just generally not that good.
Yeah.
Like ever since I came of age,
do you drink at all?
not really. Like I have a very, I think people would call this a healthy relationship with alcohol. But like my whole life, I've kind of only ever consumed what I think is like good. So I went to house parties, of course. Like I drank like my first couple of years of uni. Yeah, whatever, we'd go out. But it's always been, I've never been afraid to be the person that has the drink that tastes nice. Like beer, for the most part, I'm not that bothered by. Like on a hot day, a cold beer, don't get me wrong,
I'm
is
a big
fine.
fan. Big
But I would still probably go for a cider, because a cider to me tastes better. And even better than that, sometimes I literally just want a Coke Zero.
Yeah.
I see all of them as like a flavor of a drink, and so I'm going to go for the one that I want. But the thing is, if I go for often the one that I think tastes nice, which is like a Coke Zero, I don't have to deal with the fact that I can't drive after wherever I'm at, or the next day my training's going to be a bit off, or my sleep was a bit off. Like I don't have to deal with any of that.
No, I mean, I love the beer with the boys and everything, and I use the alcohol as an example, but like everything in life, just like saying no to things, I think has become just a lot. I'm just sticking to what I'm enjoying doing a lot more.
And I think one thing that I've found really nice with that was honestly one of the reasons that I struggled when I moved down to London. So I did have friends that I knew from uni that were in London, but I knew that a lot of them, their favorite pastime was like, we'll meet up at the pub. And it was like, that's not for me, because I don't really like the pub. okay, I like pubs as a setting, but like I don't like going and spending my evening just sinking pints
Yeah.
for no reason. So that's why I went to that run club. Whereas like I want to meet people that would rather be up early on a Saturday morning and haven't gone out the night before necessarily, and would rather go get a coffee. So that's who I started gravitating myself towards. And now whenever I meet up with my mates and we do go for a meal, we might go to Gordon Ramsay's bottomless pizza because we're all hungry as hell, and we will just all have Coke Zeros. It's like not even a
Yeah.
point of conversation.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it just, you order what you want, and that's so much nicer
Yeah.
to be in that environment for
I
sure.
wanted to ask you questions on the run club as well, and
Yeah.
what you would want to see to come and join our run club. Like, what would you want? Because you've spoken about a run club on your podcast before. You would have seen that I've started one.
Yeah.
And I think the strategy that I've used this time, we tried it before. I've got a good strategy because I've got a team. Everything works with a team. I've got a great team that we've built behind the scenes, and like we're kind of running it together. And I think that's made it more accessible for more people, and maybe more approachable, because my team's rocking up every week and they see that, and then it's a friend of theirs, or it's someone they're comfortable running with, or whatever the case. And then I also find that the consistency of it and the repetitive, it's weird, like people like that. So I didn't think Monday 7 p.m. would work at all. Like we knew it was going to be tough to get people there, but people are repeatedly coming now all of a sudden. I'm kind of going, and I've tried to change it and everyone's going, no, no,
I think,
Monday
yeah,
7.
it is really difficult because, so when I first started using fitness community and run clubs, and the reason that we discussed this on the podcast is like, I think the title was a bit of a hook, but it was like, are run clubs dead?
Yes.
Because I used to go to a lot of run clubs. Like when Gymshark first did them, I was there at their first one. When I met this bloke that I mentioned earlier, but that was that run club's first run. I went to loads of them as they were kicking off. I didn't actually go to the Pure Sport ones very often, but I met loads of friends through that. And then once I had those friends, we saw each other at different things, and then we kind of didn't bother with the run clubs anymore because it was like them that I was seeing. So we were very consistent at those run clubs because that was the one time we knew we were going to see each other through the week. And then as we got to know each other a bit better, we started to understand each other's schedule a bit more. But that's why I was saying, you know, are run clubs dead, or am I just not involved in them anymore? And I think it is a bit of both, because some have changed dramatically in like who goes, but I think there's always a fresh wave. But what you end up building is you build this community. And some of the more interesting run clubs I've done when I quote unquote was out of run clubs were, it might have been like a branded thing or something, but there was something going on. There was an additional aspect. And there was one great one which I went to, which they gave everyone like a question on a card, and you ran with your question. And then like you just ask other people. And I'm not a massive one for forced interaction with other people.
I'm also not a massive one.
But they didn't tell you had to. So you just took a card because you were given a card, and then you ran. And then like inevitably the small talk runs out, and you're kind of now running with
And you got
strangers.
a
And you,
card.
you go, oh, like, what was the funniest thing that happened to you when you were in high school? And it's because it's there.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
all of
yeah.
a sudden you kick off, and this person's like, oh, did the craziest thing at prom. And then you're like, oh, like whatever.
Yeah.
So that was actually really good. But then one thing that I've also enjoyed with other run clubs is when the kind of not necessarily the start location, but the destination changes. So
You like that?
I like it. I like being able to discover new things through my run club
Mm.
if I was going. So whether that is like you end up at a different pub, or like you end up at a different cafe, or there's something interesting about the place you're going.
Well, it's so funny you just said pub and cafe. So that's my biggest problem, because it's Monday and 7 p.m.
Yeah, which is tough. But like if there's a new area of London or like a different route.
But our
whatever.
message is to be consistent and to rock up, start new week,
Yeah.
new miles, like get moving.
Which is
that's
nice.
the message.
Yeah. And I think that's important, because a lot of run clubs start because run clubs are trendy.
Yeah.
And like, what is the point in going to them? And those that have really built into a huge run club, or even more than that, the whole purpose of it was something totally different. And like the most successful one that I think has happened in London is the Pure Sport one.
Yeah.
And the
Which
reason
has
it was,
fallen from
it
grace,
has, and I think the reason that it was so successful is because it was the first brand that really went in fully on it at 9 a.m. every Saturday. And to be that person, you either had to go out and come home early, or you didn't go out. And so everyone was on the same page, and you were doing it with a brand that cared a lot about recovery and taking care of your body. And it kind of fit, it all fit. And that enabled it to grow, and people came along to make friends. And then I think the reason that it tailed off was it was kind of distracting too much from the actual business at some point, because it's fine sorting out a run club where you've got like 20 to 30 people, but when you have literally 200,
It's a
300
business,
people turning
yeah.
up, like you have to have people that are pacing, you have to have like
Yeah.
safety crew, like all of a sudden you're responsible for something you didn't really want to be responsible for. So yeah,
What would we have to do to get you to come to our run club? What would jump out at you and be like, I want to go to this run club? Except for
it's a
me
really
just
good
asking
question.
you to come.
I think that's it. Is like
Yeah.
it's just people asking, or like
Well, it's just like, because if you would have come across it on my Instagram, for
yes,
example.
and you've mentioned it and it's come up. The thing for me is my schedule. I tend to be either working like on shoots in the evenings if there's like a fitness thing, or quite honestly, I have a dog that I've got to walk around that
Well,
time while I see my
everyone's
partner.
got.
But obviously, you can move your schedule. So I think the thing is like you want to see what the community is and like the reason for going. It doesn't necessarily have to be like a full reel. Like you don't need to make a reel about it, but just like building a bit of a presence on stories or it appearing through other people that I know on other forms of social media, or
Yeah.
someone being like, "Oh yeah, we actually went to that cafe the other day. Like that was really good," or we went to
Word of mouth
this street
almost.
food place. That was sick that we all went there, and I'm like, "Oh, I actually want to try that street food place. If you guys are going again at that run club, like I'll do that."
That's not a bad shot, yeah.
So
So
like
it's just little things.
little things, and it's just like it's not. I don't think it's ever going to be for me anyway. Like one thing's going to grab me. It's going to be like little things that I hear that I'm like, oh, I know if I go along to that, like based on all of these other things that have happened or that I know about before, probably gonna have a good time
Yeah.
regardless of who's there.
One of my biggest things is I don't want it to just be South African,
Yeah.
and I'm struggling to attract someone from.
Yeah, and one of the things we did talk about, which is tough when we said it, you know, are they dying? Is there was this massive perception. I'm using this word jokingly, as a lot of people do, but like the cult side of it, like when you're in the community. And when you've all got something so similar, so if you are all South African, like from an outside view, it's gonna
hard,
be like,
yeah.
oh, it's tough. But like you've just got to basically ignore that.
Yeah.
Don't be like, oh no, we're not.
Yeah.
Like be like, yeah,
Don't
there's
counter.
a load of us South
Yeah, yeah,
Africans,
yeah.
but like if you've got good chat and you think you can beat a bunch of South Africans in chatting about rugby, like come on down.
Yeah.
Like I think that's more what it is like just accept the joke of it rather than try and defend it, which is what a lot of run clubs do.
And I would have 100% been more active on the run club Instagram, but my time is.
Yeah, and you have to manage that. I mean, the podcast content is from all of the recording. Like this is it's so nice being in a space like this because I do everything. I literally do everything myself, from the production to all the reels. Everything is done by me, and then because my job is also doing content and shooting stuff.
You're looking at the screen all the time.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I haven't posted a reel for 3 days, and all of a sudden I'm in that thing where it's like, well, I want to like it, but also I need people to remember that the podcast is out there, so I'm just going to put something out. And then I'm kind of stuck in this. I'm putting something out for the sake of it, but then have I really just wasted 2 hours making that reel when I actually could have just been enjoying myself?
And I struggle with the burnout of that exact thought process.
And what I'm starting to learn from other people that are creative is like, I think everyone pretends they have a remedy for fixing burnout, but like sometimes you just got to dive headfirst in and get out of it as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Which is really tough, but it's a bit like, I'm trying to compare it to being in that situation where you're in fitness, when you're looking at the hole and you feel like you're about to go in. Sometimes you've just got to go head first and recognize that like you're probably not going to die as a result of it. So like you'll come out the other side.
Although I've had a bad burnout where I didn't come out the other side.
Really?
Yeah, I had 3 months chronic anxiety.
Okay, take
Almost
back
bedridden.
everything I just said.
Yeah, it wasn't necessarily from this. It was from other stuff at the time.
Yeah.
But it was dark.
That's the thing. You do have to listen to yourself.
Yeah.
And I think it's tough because I'm saying that from the perspective where that hasn't happened. So I can understand from your side. It's like, actually, no, I need to be pretty careful.
When you get an experience like that, then it changes your mindset a little bit. Yeah.
So I'm fortunate that I haven't had that. So that's why I'm very much saying like,
have you
I'll
turned
dive
30
headfirst
yet?
in. No.
That's when it comes. Yeah.
Oh.
It hits you when you're 30. Right?
Yeah. No, I'm not looking forward to that.
No, but all good. So we're gonna have you back on because we didn't even cover that was.
Yeah, like I'll talk for hours.
But
this is why I started a podcast.
Oh, 100%. I love it. But that's why I was excited to chat to you, because this is it. But I have to ask you one question.
Sure.
We finished all our podcasts off with this question. And basically the question is, because we are a bit of a motivation, inspiration podcast, what's your message to our community for someone that's struggling to find their prime self at the moment? What would be your message?
If you aren't failing, like it's a bit too cliche for me, but like I'm going to try and change the wording. But if you're not failing at something every day, then what are you doing? Like every single day I have something to complain about, and that's not because I just like complaining, but it's because something has gone wrong. But it's gone wrong because I'm trying new things. And so it's really, if you can get used to being uncomfortable about stuff, then you're only going to be progressing forwards because you're learning so much from that. You're learning to also control your emotions around that. Like literally before I left here, tiny things going on with editing that have just pissed me off. But like similar thing happened yesterday. It's like, it's not the end of the world. Like, and I now know when I go back, I know what I have to do to fix it. It's fine. And as a result of that, each day, like I'm getting fragmentally better. And that in itself is motivating. But like, yeah, to become I prime self, I like the term, but like I'll never be there because I'm going to continuously fuck things up, and I'm going to continuously hopefully learn from that. So my biggest thing is, yeah, if you're not doing something wrong every single day, then you're not actually getting better at anything.
I love that. Perfectly ended.
Cool.
Shot, brother. Appreciate
Thank
you
you
coming
very
on.
much for
All
having me
good?
on. Thank you.